The morning sky above New Dakar looked like a wound in motion, deep violet clouds spinning under the weight of an electrical storm. Malik Dubé stood on the cracked pavement beside an abandoned relief dome, his palms pressed to cold steel. The smell of rain mixed with burnt ozone and distant thunder hummed through the solar towers that lined the coast. It was supposed to be a routine repair. Just another broken structure, another shelter that had failed the forgotten. But that day felt different, charged, alive, waiting. He adjusted his exo-sleeve, its blue interface flickering. "System, run diagnostics," he muttered. The screen blinked once before cutting out completely. "Power surge," he sighed. Typical. Malik pulled out a manual torch and began scanning the damaged wall panels by hand, the way his father had taught him decades ago. No machines, just patience and rhythm. Beneath his feet, the storm trembled through the ground like a drumbeat. He could almost hear the rhythm of the old city, vendors shouting, children laughing, distant music from a griot's corner. But New Dakar wasn't singing today. The storm had silenced it. Through the haze, he noticed faint glimmers near the ridge beyond the refugee quarter. It wasn't lightning. It pulsed softly, deliberate, like breathing light. Malik frowned. "That's not atmospheric." He raised his torch. The glow seemed to answer, fluttering once, then vanishing beneath the rubble. He hesitated. Coalition patrols had ordered everyone to stay indoors during the electromagnetic surge. But curiosity, or maybe duty, pulled him forward. He secured his tools and crossed the flooded road toward the collapsed ridge. Each step crunched against shattered glass and fragments of solar shielding. Halfway there, the storm hit in full. Winds tore through the towers, carrying sheets of rain that felt like shards. Malik ducked behind an overturned drone carrier. Lightning illuminated the slope ahead, and for a split second, he saw it clearly. A dome structure, half collapsed, scorched from impact. And inside the twisted metal, a faint movement. He ran. As he approached, the air grew colder. The ground smelled of metal and strange ozone, heavier than the storm. Malik's torchlight cut through smoke and revealed the interior, curved walls of alien alloy, carved with patterns he'd never seen. Then came the sound, a low, rhythmic hum, faint but alive. "Hello?" he called out. No answer, only the hum. He crawled through a narrow gap, his breath sharp with fear and adrenaline. The beam of light caught something pale, a hand. Not human, translucent, glowing softly from within. Malik froze. His heart pounded, louder than the storm. The shape stirred weakly. There were more of them, small forms, curled together in the wreckage. 4. A family. Their bioluminescent skin flickered dimly, like candles starving for air. They were skeletal, trembling, their large eyes reflecting the torchlight with silent terror. Malik's instincts screamed to call the coalition. Protocol demanded isolation, unknown species, contamination risk. He stared at them, at the smallest one clutching what looked like a broken music sphere, its trembling hum echoing through the chamber. Something inside him shifted. He thought of his mother's voice long ago. "If a life reaches for you, you reach back." He removed his gloves slowly, showing his empty hands. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." The tallest alien hissed softly, shielding the children. Malik knelt, lowering the torchlight. "You're hurt," he said gently. "Let me help." The hum weakened. The smallest alien's glow faded to near dark. Malik moved closer, feeling the heat of the wreckage through his sleeves. He saw the shelter's power core flickering erratically. If it failed completely, they'd freeze before dawn. He exhaled. "All right," he murmured to himself. "One repair at a time." Outside, thunder cracked across the sea. New Dakar's skyline pulsed beneath the storm, a city of light and scars, watching as one man knelt beside 4 dying strangers. If you're still here, drawn into this storm and the unknown that follows, stay with Malik. His next choice will change everything. And before we continue, make sure you're subscribed. This journey across stars and hearts has only just begun. The storm eased into a steady drizzle, but the sky still pulsed with violet lightning. Malik crouched beside the collapsed shelter, his breath visible in the cold, damp air. The alien family huddled together, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. For a moment, neither side moved. It was as if the silence itself was a fragile bridge suspended between fear and trust. He spoke softly, his voice steady but unsure. "You're safe now. I'm here to help." The tallest of them, probably the parent, made a sharp, musical sound, somewhere between a hiss and a note. The others responded faintly, their glows flickering like dying embers. Malik couldn't tell if they understood. He set down his torch and reached for his pack. Inside, he found 2 ration bars and a sealed water pod. He hesitated. Coalition law was clear. No contact, no sharing, no contamination. But their eyes, enormous, glass-like, full of desperate confusion, cut through every rule he had ever memorized. Malik tore open a bar and placed it gently on the floor, sliding it toward them. "Food," he said, gesturing to his mouth. "Eat." The smallest one reached forward, then pulled back when the parent growled. Malik waited. He unwrapped the second bar, took a slow bite himself, and nodded. The child mimicked him hesitantly, then grabbed the ration and swallowed small pieces. The parent's glow brightened slightly, a cautious sign of relief. He smiled. "That's it. You'll be okay." As they ate, Malik examined the structure. The outer hull was cracked in several places, the life support vents half buried under debris. He brushed away dust and noticed the material, a composite he didn't recognize, warm to the touch and faintly humming. It wasn't human. He whispered to himself, "You came a long way to end up here." A sudden burst of static cut through the air. His comlink blinked red, a signal from the Coalition patrol grid. They were scanning the area. Malik muted the alert and powered the device down. If the system picked up the alien energy readings, troops would arrive within the hour. He turned back to the family. The parent was watching him now, head tilted, glow steady and sharp. Malik pointed to himself. "Malik!" Then slowly he pointed to them. "You?" The parent made a low tone, melodic but complex. "Tarun." The name vibrated through the air like a chord, resonating faintly in Malik's chest. "Tarun," he repeated, nodding. "All right, Tarun, we're going to fix this place. You just stay still." The alien blinked, maybe understanding, maybe not. Malik started pulling panels aside, clearing access to the shelter's interior. The smell of ozone grew stronger. Each movement sent tremors through the structure, but he worked carefully, guided by instinct more than logic. As he shifted another beam, a piece of alien technology rolled free, a small sphere with carved symbols that shimmered like starlight. When Malik touched it, it emitted a faint hum, the same rhythm the youngest had been clutching earlier. He felt the pulse vibrate against his skin, matching his heartbeat. "Music," he murmured. "You communicate through sound." The child, weak but curious, reached for the sphere. When their fingers brushed, the glow brightened, and for a second Malik heard something. Not words, but emotion. Hunger, fear, hope. The connection vanished as quickly as it came. He sat back, shaken. "Okay," he whispered. "We can work with that." A faint noise echoed from the distance, a mechanical hum rolling through the storm. Patrol drones. Malik clenched his jaw. He didn't have much time. He turned back to the family, lowering his voice. "I'm coming back with supplies. Don't leave this place. Do you understand?" The Tarun parent tilted its head, then placed its hand over the child's chest, a gesture of protection or perhaps gratitude. Malik nodded, backing toward the exit. The rain was colder now, sharp against his skin. As he stepped outside, lightning flared across the bay, revealing New Dakar in all its fractured beauty. Towers flickering through mist, people running for shelter, unaware that something extraordinary was hiding beneath their feet. Malik tightened his pack, his mind racing. He had just broken interstellar law to feed an alien child, but somehow, deep down, it didn't feel like a crime. It felt like the beginning of something that might change everything. By dawn, the storm had moved east, leaving the city coated in mist and silence. Malik walked through the narrow streets of Old Port, his boots splashing through puddles streaked with neon light. His hands still trembled from the night before, from the sight of the Tiroun family, the sound of their strange music echoing in his chest. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. The image of the child's fading glow haunted him like a heartbeat he couldn't quiet. He reached his workshop, a converted warehouse at the edge of the harbor. The air smelled of salt, metal, and burnt wire. Solar panels lined the roof like broken feathers. Inside, tools hung in precise order, the way his father had arranged them decades ago in a smaller shop back in the old quarter. Malik touched the worn hammer that had belonged to him. His father's voice came back easily, as if it had been waiting. "Repair is not about what you fix, son. It's about what you refuse to abandon." Malik exhaled. "You'd have helped them too, old man," he said quietly. A chime from the door startled him. Dr. Amakinte stepped inside, wrapped in a silver rain cloak, her hair bound in intricate braids that shimmered under the workshop lights. She looked at him for a long moment, reading the exhaustion on his face. "You didn't come home last night," she said. "Coalition patrols were looking for you." Malik hesitated. "I was working outside the relief zone, found someone." Amma's eyes narrowed. "Someone?" He nodded. "A family. Not human." She didn't speak at first, only removed her hood, revealing the scars that lined her neck, old marks from the orbital riots years ago. "You're certain?" "I saw them. 4 of them." Half-starved, terrified, Amma stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You realize what that means? The Coalition forbids unsanctioned alien contact. They'll call it contamination, Malik. You could lose your license. Worse." I couldn't walk away. His tone carried no apology, only certainty. They were dying. They needed food, heat, shelter. I did what anyone should do. Amma sighed. "No, Malik. You did what you would do. That's different." She placed her hands on the workbench, her reflection rippling across the metal surface. "Tell me everything." He did. The storm, the collapsed structure, the way the child's touch had pulsed with music. When he finished, Amma stared at the floor, silent for a long moment. "The Tiroun," she said finally. "I've read fragments about them, refugees from the Alaran moons. Their colonies fell during the trade sieges. No one knows what happened to the survivors." "They're not just surviving," Malik said. "They're communicating through rhythm, vibration. It's beautiful." Amma met his gaze. "And now you've tied yourself to them." "I have. Then we need to act fast." She walked to the console and began typing commands into her handheld scanner. "If the Coalition detects their energy pattern, they'll send retrieval teams. I can mask the frequency for a few hours, maybe a day." Malik frowned. "I'll rebuild the shelter, stabilize it before they track them." "I'll need fusion coils, sealant, and my drone units." Amma stopped typing. "Your clearance was revoked last month, remember? You don't have access to official drones anymore." "I'll build my own." She studied him, the exhaustion, the stubborn fire behind his eyes. "You're going to get yourself exiled." He smiled faintly. "Maybe. But if fixing what's broken is a crime, then I've been guilty my whole life." Amma shook her head, but there was pride in her expression. "You never change, Malik." "Neither do you," he replied softly. She handed him a data chip. "This will scramble your ID. You'll pass Coalition scanners for now. Use it wisely." He took it, feeling the weight of everything it meant. Amma turned to leave, but paused at the door. "Malik, whatever you're doing, don't forget why you started. Your father's creed wasn't just words." "I remember," he said. "We repair what others abandon." Outside, the fog thickened, wrapping the city in ghostly quiet. Malik tightened his coat, packed his tools, and looked once more at the empty horizon. Somewhere out there, a broken shelter waited, and inside it a family who no longer feared him, but needed him. By the time Malik reached the collapsed shelter again, the sky had cleared into a pale copper dawn. The storm had washed the air clean, leaving the city sharp-edged and quiet. The structure still stood half-buried in mud, the metal warm from residual power. He crawled through the gap he'd left before and froze. The Tiroun family was still there. Their faint blue light shimmered in the dimness, weaker now, but alive. The parent turned its gaze toward him, wary but no longer trembling. The child stirred, clutching the broken music sphere to its chest. Malik crouched beside them, setting down a pack of supplies. "I brought food," he said. "Real food this time." He pulled out a thermal pod and activated it. Steam curled upward, carrying the scent of nutrient stew. "I don't know if it's compatible, but we'll figure it out." The parent tilted its head. The youngest looked curious but hesitant. Malik picked up a spoon, tasted a bit, and gave an encouraging nod. The parent sniffed the air, then slowly guided the child's hands toward the bowl. They ate in cautious silence. Malik smiled, relief softening his face. "There you go. You're going to make it." He took out a portable lamp and adjusted it toward the cracked energy cells near the wall. "I'll have to reroute this system," he murmured. "It's bleeding power faster than it can store." His fingers worked quickly, rewiring lines with the precision of habit. Sparks flickered, then steadied into a gentle hum. A faint sound broke the silence, a low vibration, almost melodic. Malik turned. The Tarun child had begun humming softly, eyes closed, matching the frequency of the shelter's restored pulse. Each note shimmered in the air like light rippling on water. He stopped working, mesmerized. "You're singing to it." The child opened its eyes and looked at him, then touched the side of the wall. The metal responded. Faint waves of color moved across its surface, resonating to the rhythm. Malik felt the vibration through his hands. The structure was alive again, balanced by sound and harmony. A soft laugh escaped him. "You're repairing it with music." The parent made a tone, deeper, layered, and the wall brightened further. Malik joined in without thinking, humming a simple human rhythm, something he'd learned as a child, fixing generators with his father. The alien melody folded around his voice, merging into something entirely new, a sound that didn't belong to one world or another. For a moment they weren't human or alien, rescuer or refugee. They were builders, two species keeping something alive. When the energy stabilized, Malik leaned back, breathing hard. "We did it," he said softly. "Together." The parent reached toward him, fingers glowing faintly. It pressed its hand to his chest just over his heart. Malik froze. The gesture was intimate, ceremonial. The Tarun's light pulsed once, and he felt warmth spread through his body, not painful, just real. "Thank you," it said, the word imperfect, shaped through effort but unmistakable. Malik blinked. "You can speak?" The parent's glow dimmed slightly, as if exhausted. "Learning," it managed, then pointed toward him. "Malik." He smiled. "That's right." "Malik," the child mimicked softly. "Malik," and then giggled, a sound halfway between chime and breath. He laughed, wiping sweat from his brow. "Guess we're officially talking now." A soft static buzzed from his comlink. He flinched, remembering Amma's warning, coalition sensors sweeping nearby. He powered it off instantly. "We have to stay quiet," he whispered. "No signals." The parent seemed to understand. It placed a hand on the wall, and the shelter's faint hum faded until the space fell completely silent. Malik looked around, impressed. "You can mute the power signature." No answer. Only the sound of the child's slow breathing and the faint echo of what had just been shared, a fragile harmony between fear and hope. He sat down against the wall, exhaustion settling into his bones. For the first time in years, Malik felt something that had gone missing since his father's death. Purpose. Not the kind that came from rules or contracts, but from connection. He looked at the faint glow reflecting on his palms and whispered, "We're going to fix this." "All of it." Outside, New Dakar began to stir awake, unaware that somewhere beneath its streets a new rhythm had been born, one that would not fade quietly. The midday sun glared over New Dakar, slicing through the smog that hovered above the coast. Malik moved quickly through the crowded streets, the heat clinging to his back like a second skin. Every corner buzzed with life, vendors shouting, air cars whirring overhead, the hum of the city's endless rhythm. Yet beneath it all, he felt the weight of secrecy pressing harder with each step. He'd left the Tarun family with enough food and power to last the day. Amma's device still scrambled the signal, but coalition patrols were expanding their sweeps. They would notice soon. And when they did, the shelter would become a target. He reached the repair bureau, a glass monolith etched with the coalition's crest, a fractured star encircled by steel wings. The sight made his stomach tighten. He hadn't been summoned here in months, not since his last suspension. The security gate scanned him coldly before opening with a mechanical hiss. Inside, the air was sterile and chilled, stripped of scent or warmth. Screens lined the walls displaying maps of the solar perimeter and coded transmissions in endless motion. He was escorted into an office on the upper level, where Commander Jelani Ebo stood waiting. Ebo's uniform gleamed, every fold immaculate. His dark eyes studied Malik with a calm that felt dangerous. "Mr. Dub," he said, voice sharp as glass. "I was wondering how long it would take you to walk back into my jurisdiction." Malik stood straight, forcing his tone to remain even. "You requested my presence." "I did." Ebo folded his hands behind his back. "Because your authorization tag was detected in a restricted zone during last night's storm." "A zone that, as you know, was under quarantine." Malik's jaw tightened. "I was doing repair work. The storm damaged a relief dome near the perimeter. I didn't realize it fell under restricted protocol." Ebo's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "You always have an excuse ready, Doob. But this one is interesting. Our sensors picked up an energy signature from that same zone. Alien resonance unlike anything recorded since the Alaran conflicts. Care to explain that?" Malik hesitated. The room seemed to narrow around him. "I don't know what you're talking about." Ebo took a slow step forward. "You've always been a bleeding heart, fixing what doesn't belong to you, but hear me clearly. If you're hiding anything or anyone, it won't end well. The Coalition doesn't tolerate unsanctioned contact." Malik met his gaze, steady. "And what if the contact wasn't hostile?" Ebo's expression hardened. "Intent doesn't matter. Regulation does." The words hit like a hammer. Malik forced himself to stay composed. "You talk about regulation, as if it's more sacred than life itself." "Regulation keeps this planet from burning again," Ebo replied. "We learned what happens when humans interfere with alien refugees. You weren't here during the Dusk riots. I was. I saw what compassion cost us." Malik's voice softened, edged with anger. "Maybe you saw what fear cost us instead." The silence that followed was taut, electric. Finally, Ebo exhaled. "You're walking a dangerous path, Doob. I'm grounding your field license effective immediately. Your tools and drones are to be surrendered by dusk. You're confined to the Central District until further notice." Malik's hands curled into fists. "You think you can stop me from helping people?" "I think I can stop you from destroying what little stability we have left," Ebo said. "Do the smart thing for once, walk away." But Malik already knew he wouldn't. He nodded stiffly, turned, and left without another word. Outside, the heat struck him again, heavier than before. The streets felt louder, more hostile. He reached into his pocket, fingers brushing against Amma's scrambled ID chip. Grounded, disarmed, watched, but not finished. He whispered to himself, "You can strip my tools, Commander, but you can't silence the work." As he disappeared into the noise of New Dakar, the city swallowed him whole. Just another man in a world too busy to notice that something extraordinary was beginning to move beneath its feet. The night air over New Dakar carried the smell of dust and iron. Malik walked through the alleys of the old quarter, his thoughts heavy, his hands empty. The Coalition had taken his clearance, his drones, and his right to work, but not his purpose. He turned off the main street and entered a narrow passage lined with flickering neon signs and the faint rhythm of street music leaking from open windows. At the end of the alley stood a repair yard that time had forgotten. Rusted machines, stripped for parts, were stacked high behind steel fencing. A single light burned inside the small shack at its center. Malik knocked twice. The door opened to reveal Baba Kion, an old mechanic with hands as rough as stone and eyes that missed nothing. "Malik Doob," he said with a grin. I thought the coalition had swallowed you whole by now. Almost did, Malik replied. I need your yard, Baba, and your silence. Keon's grin faded into curiosity. What are you building this time? Malik stepped inside, glancing at the tools spread across the table, old, analog, handmade. Something that doesn't exist in their databases. Keon chuckled. You always had the stubborn fire. Your father was the same. Sit. Tell me what's chasing you. Malik hesitated, then spoke quietly. It's not what's chasing me. It's who I'm protecting. Keon listened without interruption as Malik told him about the storm, the Tarun family, and the shelter. When he finished, Keon let out a low whistle. So you're feeding aliens now. The coalition will brand you a sympathizer. I'm helping a family, Malik said. That's all. Keon leaned back, studying him. You sound like your old man again. He used to say the same thing when the uprisings began. Said fixing a roof was more rebellion than a speech. Malik smiled faintly. He wasn't wrong. The old man nodded slowly. All right then. You can use the back bay. I've got parts from the decommissioned freight haulers. Servos, coils, processors. They still hum if you treat them right. Malik clasped his shoulder. Thank you. As he began sorting through the piles of scrap, Keon lit a small incense burner in the corner. The spirits watch, Malik. You may think this city's forgotten them, but they still hum in the wires. Don't work without greeting them. Malik paused. My father used to say the same. He closed his eyes and whispered under his breath. Not prayer, not superstition, something between memory and respect. The rhythmic sound of his voice blended with the hum of machinery, and for a moment, the workshop felt alive. Hours passed. Sparks burst and faded, metal joined with metal, and old circuits came to life. Malik worked until sweat slicked his brow, guided by instinct and the rhythm of his tools. Keon watched silently, the old man's smile soft with pride. When Malik finally stopped, 3 makeshift drones hovered above the table, crude but functional, glowing faintly with red sensor lights. They'll never pass a scan, Keon warned. They don't need to, Malik replied. They just need to move fast and carry what I can't. Keon nodded, impressed. So what's your plan? I'm going back tonight. The shelter needs reinforcement before the next weather cycle. You'll be walking straight into patrol range. I know, Malik said, but I can't leave them exposed. Keon sighed, then handed him a small talisman carved from copper wire and bone. Your father carried this. Said it kept the machines listening to his hands. Maybe it'll keep yours steady. Malik accepted it quietly. I'll bring it back. The old man smiled. No, just make sure you come back. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall again, soft and rhythmic. Malik slung his pack over his shoulder, the smell of ozone sharp in the air. The city lights flickered, echoing the pulse of something unseen. Human hands working against the tide of order, guided by spirit and defiance. As he disappeared into the night, Keon whispered after him, Your father would be proud, boy. Repair what they break, no matter who they are. The road back to the outskirts was dark and silent. Malik moved quickly, the city fading behind him as dust and night swallowed the skyline. His makeshift drones floated beside him, quiet as ghosts. In the distance, lightning flickered along the horizon, not from a storm, but from the atmospheric generators that powered the refugee zones. Their glow bathed the earth in a soft electric blue. By the time he reached the collapsed shelter, the air had grown still. The dome stood exactly as he'd left it, though a faint hum pulsed beneath the metal, rhythmic and alive. He stepped through the narrow breach and felt warmth wash over him. The Tarun family was awake. The parent turned its head, its bioluminescence brighter now, almost golden. The child ran forward, clutching the music sphere. Its laughter, if that was the right word, shimmered in the air like wind chimes caught in sunlight. Malik smiled. Miss me? The parent tilted its head. Return. Quick. I told you I'd come back. He knelt beside them, unpacking new components from his bag, power cells, wire, and nutrient pods. His drones unfolded with soft mechanical clicks, hovering in place as they scanned the damaged supports. He began work immediately, hands moving in steady rhythm. Each spark of welding light cast shifting patterns across the walls. The Tarun children watched in fascination, mimicking the hiss and hum of his tools with uncanny precision. "You've got rhythm," Malik said, glancing at them. "Rhythm," one echoed, voice rising like a note held too long. The parent gestured toward him, then to the shelter's walls. "We feel you. Metal sings." He paused, the words sinking in. "You can feel vibration?" "Yes. Sound carries life." The parent's voice had grown clearer, shaped by mimicry and patience. "You fix with song." Malik smiled faintly. "Guess I do." He switched on a small generator, its low hum resonating through the chamber. The Tarun responded instantly. Harmonic tones rippled from their throats, perfectly tuned to the machine's pitch. The shelter's cracked walls began to shimmer again, lights running through the metal like veins filling with blood. He stared in quiet awe. "You're stabilizing the structure through resonance." The parent nodded. "Together, chance, we balance." For a long moment, Malik simply listened. The sound they created was neither human nor alien, a blend of pulse, rhythm, and warmth that filled the space with something close to peace. When the repairs were complete, he powered down the tools and sat beside them. The child climbed closer, tracing the edge of his hand with small glowing fingers. Malik didn't move. The light pulsing beneath its skin illuminated the calluses of his palms. Two beings, both shaped by work, both marked by survival. He looked up. "Your people. They use sound for technology." "Sound, light, memory," the parent said slowly. "Our world sang. Oceans and air, in harmony." Malik's chest tightened. "And now it's gone." The parent's glow dimmed, the silence answering for it. He hesitated, then reached into his pack and pulled out a small data crystal, one of the last recordings of Earth's native choirs, centuries old. He placed it near the shelter's core and activated it. Voices filled the air, deep, resonant, human. The song was in Yoruba, a melody of longing and endurance. The Tarun listened, motionless. Then, one by one, they joined in, their tones weaving through the human harmonies, reshaping them, blending two worlds into a single sound. The shelter's walls vibrated, light pulsing brighter than before. Malik felt tears sting his eyes. "Between stars and ancestors," he whispered. "We're all just trying to keep the song alive." The parent looked at him, its glow steady. "We must sing together now." Outside, the wind picked up, carrying faint echoes of their creation across the barren ridge. Malik sat in silence, letting the sound wash through him. Not just music, but a promise. He knew the world beyond that ridge wouldn't understand what was happening here. But for the first time, it didn't matter. The connection was real, and it was growing. The next morning brought no peace. The horizon over New Dakar was a blur of smoke and rising heat, the air charged with the tension of machines and voices. Malik stood on a rocky ridge above the shelter, his eyes scanning the sky where patrol drones glided in tight formation. Their lights cut through the haze like warning stars. The coalition was expanding its search radius. He turned back toward the dome. The hum that once felt alive now sounded fragile, trembling under the weight of fear. Inside, the Tarun family waited, silent. The youngest clutched the music sphere tightly, its glow dim. Malik's chest ached at the sight. He crouched near the entrance, whispering to himself, "We don't have much time." Amma's voice echoed in his mind, her calm, sharp tone. "The moment the coalition detects an alien signature, they'll move to contain. Not negotiate. Contain." He activated one of his handmade drones and sent it up, its whirring blades blending with the wind. A live feed blinked across his wristband, showing the outline of armored vehicles stationed less than 3 kilometers away. Too close. He exhaled slowly. "All right. Think." The parent Tarun stepped forward, its glow faint but steady. "Danger?" "Yes," Malik said. "Humans coming, not friends." The alien looked toward the child, then back at him. "We hide?" for now. But the shelter's walls aren't shielded enough. If they scan this place, they'll find you. He began pulling materials from his pack. Reflective foil, energy dampeners, scraps of old plating. The drones assisted as he worked, welding seams, rerouting heat signatures. The Tarun watched, and soon they joined him. Their hands emitted subtle vibrations that melted the panels together seamlessly, forming a seamless rhythm of sound and motion. "You're learning fast," Malik said between breaths. "Together," the parent replied, echoing his own word from before. "We fix." The phrase caught him off guard, simple yet powerful. "Yeah," he said softly. "We fix." Hours slipped by, the outside light dimming into an amber dusk. The shelter now pulsed with new energy, muted, invisible to scanners, but alive. Malik stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. He'd built things all his life, but never anything that felt this sacred. Then came the low hum, not from the shelter but from above. His heart froze. Through the small breach, he saw the sleek shadow of a coalition dropship descending in the distance. Its engines thundered across the plain. "Damn it," he whispered. He powered down every device, plunging the dome into silence. No light, no sound. The Tarun family obeyed instantly, their glow fading until they were silhouettes in the dark. Malik crouched near the gap, every muscle tense. Outside, searchlights swept across the rubble, crawling closer. Voices shouted through loudspeakers in the distance, cold, mechanical orders. He gritted his teeth. He couldn't let them find this place, not after everything. A faint metallic ping echoed, one of his drones bumping against a rock outside. The noise was small, but in the quiet night it sounded deafening. A searchlight turned sharply. Malik's pulse spiked, bootsteps getting closer. He pressed his palm to the shelter wall, thinking fast. "Can you block the sound?" he whispered. The parent nodded once. A low harmonic vibration spread through the structure, muffling everything. The air thickened. Outside, the soldiers' voices became distant, distorted. The patrol lights passed just beyond the ridge, searching, then moved on. Malik didn't breathe until the engines faded into the distance. When the silence returned, he slumped against the wall, his body shaking from the adrenaline. The child approached him carefully, glowing faintly once more. "Safe?" it asked. "For now," Malik whispered. "But they'll be back." The parent met his gaze, calm and resolute. "Then, we stronger next time." Malik nodded slowly. "Yeah, we will." He looked toward the distant lights of the city, now blurred behind smoke. War might not have come yet, but its shadow was already here, creeping, watching, waiting for the first mistake. The following night came heavy and restless. Clouds gathered above New Dakar like bruises in the sky, their reflections trembling in the flooded streets below. Malik made his way back to the shelter through the dark, his steps quick but cautious. He could feel the tension in the air, the kind that came before destruction. When he reached the ridge, he froze. The metallic scent of ozone hung thick. Smoke rose from the direction of the dome. His stomach tightened. He broke into a run. The shelter had been hit. Sections of the outer wall were scorched black, the structure half collapsed again. His heart pounded as he crawled through the debris, shouting, "Tarun, answer me!" A faint hum responded, weak but alive. He followed it to the corner where the family huddled together beneath a fallen beam. The parent's glow flickered, protecting the children with its body. The youngest whimpered softly, clutching the dim sphere that once sang with light. Malik dropped to his knees, his throat raw. "I'm here. I've got you." He shoved the beam aside, his muscles screaming. The shelter groaned under the strain, dust filling the air. He coughed, pulling the child free. The parent reached toward him, trembling. "They came, machines." "Drones?" he asked, though he already knew. The coalition had found them. "It's okay. You're safe now. I'll fix this." He checked the structure. Half the support system was gone, power drained, and the energy field that masked their presence was shattered. He didn't have the tools for a rebuild, just fragments of metal and his bare hands. For a moment, despair crept in like the cold. His breath came uneven. He thought of his father again, that quiet strength, the patience that had built homes out of ruin. Malik clenched his fists. "No," he whispered. "Not again." He activated his last working drone. "Patch mode," he commanded. The drone whirred, scanning the damage. He began welding broken panels together, sweat dripping into his eyes, the scent of burnt metal stinging his throat. The child watched him silently. Then, in the smallest voice, it said, "Help." He looked up. The Tarun pressed their glowing palms against the wall. The vibrations started again, faint, faltering, but real. Malik followed their rhythm, tapping his tools in sync. Together they rebuilt, sound and motion intertwined, metal bending under will alone. As the shelter stabilized, he noticed the sphere in the child's hands pulsing faintly again. "It's reacting," he murmured, "to the repair frequencies." The sphere projected a soft light onto the ceiling, not random patterns this time, but images. Malik gasped. The light formed landscapes of another world, crystalline oceans, floating towers, creatures that shimmered like living starlight. It was the Tarun home. The parent's voice trembled. "Our world. Gone. Fire from sky. We run." Malik stared at the projection, devastation washing over him like a wave. "You've been running ever since." The alien nodded slowly. "We remember. In sound. In light. Memory keeps us alive." He touched the sphere gently. "Then we'll keep it safe. I promise." Outside, thunder cracked, shaking the ground. Malik turned toward the noise and saw faint glows moving along the ridge. Patrol lights. The coalition wasn't finished. He killed the lamp and whispered, "Quiet!" The family obeyed instantly. In the dark he could feel their fear, but also their trust. He closed his eyes, forcing himself to stay calm. The rain began to fall again, masking the sound of his breathing. Minutes passed before the distant lights disappeared back toward the city. Only then did Malik speak again. "We can't stay here long, but tonight we survived. That's what matters." The parent met his gaze, exhaustion etched in every flicker of light. "You fix," it said softly. He smiled faintly. "That's what I do." The shelter's hum steadied again, faint but enduring. Malik sat beside them, letting the rhythm sink into him, a pulse that felt almost human. In the ruins of destruction, something fragile yet unbreakable had been rebuilt. Dawn broke with a blood-red sky over New Dakar. The rain had stopped, leaving the air thick and metallic, heavy with the scent of scorched earth. Malik sat near the edge of the shelter, staring at the twisted skyline in the distance. Every tower shimmered with the reflection of morning light, but all he could feel was the weight of what he'd almost lost. The Troon family was sleeping, their glow dim and calm for the first time in days. Malik's hands were raw from work, his muscles burning. He couldn't rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the moment the drones descended. The flashes, the smoke, the sound of breaking metal. They were alive, but barely. He stood and began checking the patched walls again. The structure held steady, but he knew it wouldn't last forever. The coalition would return, and when they did, no patch or vibration field could keep them hidden. He needed a plan, something bigger than repair, something human. He tapped his wristband. "Amma," he whispered. The connection crackled, then steadied. Her voice came through, quiet but sharp. "Malik, you shouldn't be transmitting. I didn't have a choice. They found us last night. Are they alive?" "They're alive, but the shelter's almost done. I can't move them, and I can't stay invisible much longer." There was a pause. "You said they." "A family," he replied. "They're not soldiers or spies, just people trying to survive." Amma exhaled slowly. "And the coalition?" "They'll call it a violation," Malik said bitterly. "They'll say I compromised planetary security." "Which you technically did," she said, though her tone softened. "But I understand why." He rubbed his face. "Amma, when I worked on the disaster zones last decade, I thought I'd seen the worst of humanity. Greed, indifference, all of it. But last night, I saw something else. A species running from extinction, and I was the only one who reached back. Amma's silence was filled with static. Then she said, "You always did believe compassion could save the world." "It has to," Malik said. "Otherwise, what's the point of fixing anything?" "You're not just fixing," she replied. "You're rewriting the rules." He looked back at the Tarun still sleeping under the faint shimmer of light. "Maybe the rules deserve it." Amma's tone turned urgent. "Malik, listen to me. The Coalition intercepted transmissions from that area. Commander Abo's forces are mobilizing. You don't have long." "How long?" "Hours. Maybe less." He clenched his jaw. "Then I'll make them understand before it's too late." "Malik?" But he ended the transmission before she could stop him. He turned back toward the shelter. The child stirred, blinking drowsily. "You talk loud," it murmured, its words clumsy but clear. He smiled faintly. "Sorry, little one, I didn't mean to wake you." The parent rose beside the child, gaze steady. "You leave?" Malik shook his head. "No, I fight for you." "Fight? Not with weapons," he said. "With truth, with what we've built here." The parent tilted its head, considering his words. "You burn," it said finally. "Human fire." Malik froze, startled. "What did you say?" "Human fire," it repeated. "Warm, bright, destroys and saves." He let out a quiet laugh. "That's one way to put it." He moved toward the central console and began recording. The shelter's rebuilt systems flickered to life. "If the Coalition wants proof," he said softly, "then I'll give it to them." He uploaded the recordings, the music, the repairs, the harmony of human and alien working as one. He added one message, voice low and steady. Humanity's strength was never conquest. It was compassion, and today compassion rebuilt what fear destroyed. He sent the file to Amma's secure channel, then leaned back, exhausted. Outside, the wind shifted. Somewhere far above, a new storm was gathering, not of rain, but of consequence. The Tarun child touched his arm. "We safe?" Malik met its glowing eyes and said quietly, "Not yet. But soon everyone will know what we did here." Amma stared at the screen in disbelief. The data file Malik had sent glowed with encrypted tags and timestamp signatures that marked it as real, not fabricated. She played the message again, hearing his voice, calm, measured, defiant. The recording showed him beside the Tarun family, the child laughing softly as harmonic waves pulsed through the shelter's rebuilt walls. The audio captured the fusion of human and alien sound, music that felt alive. Her assistant, a young analyst from the Coalition's communication unit, stammered, "Doctor, if you transmit this beyond our network, it'll breach 3 security laws." Amma didn't look up. "Then I'll make it worth the penalty." She tapped the command line and began routing the signal through off-world relays. Across the sector, encrypted nodes flickered. The broadcast went live. Within minutes, the message spread through public channels, first in New Dakar, then across the African Union orbital link, and finally into deep space feeds. The video reached miners in the asteroid colonies, traders on orbital stations, and refugees on forgotten worlds. The sight of a human engineer working hand in hand with a starved alien family shook every belief built on fear. Amma leaned back, whispering to herself, "Let them see what humanity really looks like." Back in the shelter, Malik's wristband flashed, incoming transmissions flooding the airwaves. He hadn't expected the broadcast to travel so far, so fast. The signal carried replies from all over the network, people from dozens of worlds sending messages of support or confusion. One transmission came through with a familiar voice, Commander Ebo. "Malik Dubé," the voice growled through static. "Do you have any idea what you've done? That footage is destabilizing the entire Coalition. You've exposed restricted species to public channels." Malik exhaled slowly. "I exposed the truth." "The truth doesn't matter if it burns everything down," Ebo snapped. "It does if it rebuilds something better," Malik replied. His tone was steady, no anger, only conviction. There was silence. Then Ibo's voice lowered. You've set events in motion you can't control. Ships are moving. Governments are watching. If you want to survive this, you need to surrender now. Malik looked at the Tarun family. The parent watched him, calm, unafraid. No, he said quietly. I think it's time they listen instead. He ended the transmission. Amma's voice came through next, softer but urgent. Malik, you're becoming a symbol. The feed's everywhere. They're calling it the human repairer. Some are rallying for protection of the Tarun. Others are demanding your arrest. You've divided half the system in one day. Malik ran a hand over his face. Maybe division was always there. Maybe this just made people look. She hesitated. You've made them feel. That's different. Outside, thunder rumbled again, not from a storm, but from the roar of distant engines. Malik stepped out and looked toward the horizon. Coalition crafts hovered far beyond the ridge, a faint glimmer of movement in the morning haze. He could almost sense their uncertainty. The Tarun parent joined him. Many voices now, it said softly. You speak, they hear. He nodded. Yeah. Now they have to choose what to do with it. The child peeked out from behind its parent, holding the music sphere. Malik crouched and smiled. Keep playing, he said. The universe is finally listening. The child pressed its small glowing hand to the sphere. A low rising tone filled the air, the same rhythm that had once repaired the shelter. But now it was something greater, a call that echoed beyond sound, beyond fear. Somewhere high above, satellites captured the frequencies and carried them further. The melody spread through space, bouncing across communication relays, transforming into signals, patterns, stories. Malik stood beneath the rising sun, watching the sky. If this is how they find us, he murmured, then let them find harmony instead of hate. Behind him, the Tarun family sang softly, their light growing stronger. The shelter, once a ruin, now glowed like a heartbeat beneath the sky of New Dakar. The morning after the broadcast, the world changed. New Dakar awoke to chaos, streets flooded with crowds, digital banners projecting Malik's face, and news anchors shouting over each other about the human repairer. Some called him a hero, others a traitor. But across the planet, one question echoed louder than politics. What happens now? Malik didn't know the answer. He stood on the ridge outside the shelter, exhausted, the wind tugging at his jacket. The Tarun family rested nearby, their light faint but steady. For the first time, they didn't seem afraid. Amma's voice came through his earpiece, breathless. Malik, you need to see this. Look east. He turned. The sky above the ocean glowed with 10 streaks of silver light descending through the clouds. The air trembled, waves breaking against the coast as the ships slowed their descent. They weren't coalition crafts. Their hulls shimmered with patterns of color, fractal designs that shifted like living skin. Amma whispered, 10 alien vessels, different species. They're not attacking, they're landing. Malik's pulse quickened. How far? Just beyond your sector. Near the shoreline. He stared in disbelief. They came here. Not to fight, Amma said. To answer. As the ships broke through the clouds, the atmosphere vibrated with low-frequency tones, harmonic waves that resonated deep in Malik's bones. The Tarun parent lifted its head, its body glowing brighter. Home voices, it murmured. Not ours, but kin. The 10 vessels settled in formation across the plain, their reflections painting the sky in hues of violet and gold. Malik's comlink crackled again, this time with the sharp voice of Commander Ibo. Dube, Ibo barked. Do not approach those ships. The coalition fleet is mobilizing to intercept. Stay where you are. Malik ignored him. He began walking toward the descending crafts. Dube, that's an order. Ibo's voice rose. You'll be detained on sight. Malik shut the channel off. You can't order silence anymore, he muttered. The Tarun followed him, the child clutching the sphere that now pulsed in rhythm with the sound from the sky. Every step closer felt unreal, like crossing into history. When the first ship's doors opened, Malik stopped. Figures emerged, tall, luminous beings with skin like glass and movement like flowing water. Others followed, avian forms with iridescent feathers, scaled nomads with glowing eyes, and mechanical hybrids that pulsed with soft energy. 10 species in total, each carrying symbols of unity, each bowing slightly as they approached. Malik stood frozen. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice barely audible. One of the beings stepped forward, speaking through a layered tone that vibrated like song. "Your message reached us. The frequencies of repair, they carried meaning, compassion in resonance. We came to witness it." Malik swallowed hard. "I didn't send it to you." "The universe sent it," the being replied. "And now we answer." Behind them, Amma's voice broke through the static again. "Malik, the coalition has halted deployment. They're watching the feed. Everyone is." The Tarun child looked up at him. "Thank you." Malik turned toward the crowd of aliens. "I only did what anyone should do." The luminous being shook its head. "No, you did what few still believe possible. You reached across fear." As they spoke, the air filled with light. The 10 ships projected beams that merged in the sky above, forming a single ring of shimmering energy, a universal gesture of peace. The sound it made wasn't noise, but harmony, a unified chord that made even the ground hum. Malik's throat tightened. The Tarun parent touched his arm, its voice soft. "They see you, Malik Dubi. They remember." He looked up, tears stinging his eyes. "Then let them remember humanity like this." The harmonic light spread outward, washing over New Dakar. For a brief, impossible moment, there were no borders, no orders, only rhythm. And somewhere far above the planet, the 10 ships continued to sing. The news of the 10 ships spread across the planet like wildfire. Every screen in New Dakar streamed the live broadcast, the alien vessels hovering above the ocean, their light reflecting across the towers and the faces of millions watching below. What had begun as a scandal was now something far larger, something sacred. For the first time in centuries, humanity was silent, not from fear but from awe. Malik stood before the assembly of alien delegates, the morning sun gleaming off the wet earth beneath their feet. He could feel the hum of their presence, a low frequency that seemed to resonate with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Around them, human officials and coalition envoys kept their distance, uncertain whether to approach or to bow. Amma arrived from the city hours later, her eyes wide with disbelief. "You really did it," she whispered. "They came because of you." Malik shook his head. "They came because we listened. I just repaired what was broken." One of the luminous beings stepped forward, the same one who had spoken before. "You rebuilt more than a shelter," it said. "You rebuilt the trust between stars." Amma looked at Malik, her expression softening. "Do you realize what this means? This could change the entire structure of the coalition." He smiled faintly. "Then let it change. Maybe it's time." The Tarun family approached, their glow warm and steady. The child ran ahead and offered the small music sphere to the nearest alien envoy. The being held it gently, its surface lighting with new color. A chorus of harmonic tones filled the air, a blending of frequencies, human and alien, the shared heartbeat of repair. Amma turned to Malik. "What are they doing?" "They're connecting," he said quietly. "Building something together." Across the ridge, technicians from New Dakar began erecting new frameworks, beams, conduits, energy nodes, under the joint direction of human engineers and alien architects. The coalition had not given orders. The people had. The project had begun spontaneously, without command or hierarchy. Malik recognized the rhythm instantly, cooperation without ego, the very essence of Ubuntu his father had preached. A reporter's voice echoed faintly from the background feed. "The site once known as Refuge Dome 6 is now being transformed into what citizens are calling the Sanctuary of Rhythm, a place for all who seek harmony between worlds." Amma smiled. "You've started a movement." "No," Malik replied. "We've remembered what it means to be human." He knelt beside the Tirun parent, who was watching the construction with quiet wonder. "You're safe now," he said. "You can rest." The alien touched his shoulder gently. We build, together. Malik felt a lump rise in his throat. Then this will be your home too. As the work continued, representatives from each alien ship joined the effort, offering technology and knowledge that humans had never seen. Transparent materials that grew stronger with sound, energy cells that responded to touch, and music-based interfaces that turned harmony into architecture. The city began to sing. By nightfall, a structure had begun to take shape. A vast circular hall, its walls alive with light. People from every district arrived carrying instruments, tools, or simply their voices. No one gave speeches. No one demanded permission. The rhythm guided them all. Amma watched in silence, then turned to Malik. Your father would have loved this. Malik smiled faintly. He used to say every repair is a song. Looks like he was right. As the first tones of the sanctuary's music filled the air, the alien ships above pulsed in perfect sync, amplifying the sound until it spread across the sky. The night shimmered with unity, a shared creation that belonged to no single world. Malik looked around him, humans and aliens working, singing, breathing the same rhythm. The gift of unity wasn't a treaty or a technology. It was this moment, fragile, luminous, alive. And in the heart of New Dakar, the song continued to rise. 2 weeks after the ship's arrival, New Dakar stood transformed. Where ruins and fear had once ruled, now stood the sanctuary of rhythm, a vast living structure that pulsed with sound and color. Its walls shimmered with embedded harmonics, responding to every heartbeat inside. The coalition had not dared to intervene. The movement had grown too large, too human to suppress. People called it the dawn of coexistence. Malik walked through the sanctuary's open gates, his hands still scarred from endless repair. Around him, delegations from every major world gathered, humans, Tarun, and the 10 visiting species, each representing their home systems. The air carried a hum that wasn't quite music or speech, but something in between. Unity had found its rhythm. Amma met him near the central platform, her expression calm yet proud. They're waiting for you, she said. He frowned. For me? You're the reason any of this exists. The coalition wants to honor you. They're calling it the ceremony of light. He hesitated. Amma, I didn't do this alone. She smiled faintly. That's exactly why you should stand there. As the ceremony began, the hall darkened. Streams of light spiraled upward from the floor, illuminating symbols of every culture present. The coalition's crest appeared above them all, now merged with a new emblem, a glowing hand and a shining spiral, human and alien intertwined. Commander Ebo approached from the delegation's row. His uniform was immaculate as ever, but his tone had softened. Malik Doob, he began, you have defied orders, breached protocol, and endangered diplomatic stability. Yet, in doing so, you reminded us what those laws were meant to protect. Malik met his gaze, surprised by the hint of respect in his voice. Ebo continued, you rebuilt trust in a time when we had forgotten how. The coalition recognizes your act not as rebellion, but as renewal. He stepped aside as a young aide carried a silver medallion etched with both human and alien script. The crowd's murmurs fell silent. Amma whispered beside him, it's more than a medal, Malik. It's acknowledgement. Ebo held it out. For courage, born from compassion, the kind that binds rather than breaks. Malik looked at the medallion, its surface glowing faintly with internal light. He didn't reach for it. This doesn't belong to me, he said quietly. Ebo frowned. Then to whom? Malik turned toward the crowd. The Tarun family stood near the front, and the parent tall and calm, the child clutching the repaired music sphere. He gestured toward them. To them, to every being that taught us, we don't need permission to care. A hush fell across the hall. The parent stepped forward, its voice resonant. We accept not for glory, but for peace. Malik smiled, stepping back. Then it's yours. The parent took the medallion and raised it high. The sanctuary lights responded, blooming into radiant patterns that spiraled across the ceiling. The sound that followed wasn't applause. It was harmony. Each species released a tone of their own, blending into a single rising chord. It filled the air with something indescribable, not victory, not triumph, but balance. Amma turned to him, her eyes glistening. "You just made history, Malik." He shook his head. "We just remembered who we are." Outside, the glow from the sanctuary stretched across the coastline, visible even from orbit. The 10 ships answered with beams of light, forming a celestial ring above the city. The world below shimmered under their reflection, a living testament to what could be built through compassion and repair. As the last tones faded, Malik looked at Amma and whispered, "When my father taught me to fix things, he said a good repair should last beyond your hands. I think this one will." Amma smiled softly. "It already has." Morning unfolded slowly across New Dakar. The city no longer shimmered with tension but with renewal. The ocean's surface caught the first light, casting gold reflections over the towers that once stood as symbols of isolation. Now they looked different, open, alive. The sanctuary of rhythm pulsed softly at the heart of the skyline, its energy spreading through every street like a living heartbeat. Malik stood at the edge of the sanctuary's platform, watching the horizon. His reflection glowed faintly in the polished floor, framed by shifting patterns of light that moved with the rhythm of the city. The 10 ships remained in orbit, silent and patient, their luminous forms visible even in daylight. Behind him, Amma approached quietly. "You've been out here since dawn," she said. He smiled without turning. "I wanted to see the city wake up." Amma joined him, following his gaze toward the horizon. "It feels different now," she said, "like the world finally exhaled." "It's more than that," Malik replied. "It's listening." Below, people gathered in the streets, humans and aliens walking side by side. Merchants opened their shops, their signs now written in hybrid languages. Children chased luminous drones that sang fragments of Turun melody. What had begun as an act of rebellion had become ordinary life. Amma's voice softened. "They'll write your name into history for this." Malik shook his head. "History doesn't need my name. It needs this feeling to last." She studied him for a long moment. "You could take a place in the council. Lead this movement officially." He chuckled quietly. "I've never been good at politics. I'm better with broken things." "Then what now?" she asked. He looked down at his scarred hands. "There will always be something to repair. A shelter, a heart, a belief. I'll keep doing that." Amma nodded. "Your father would be proud." Malik's eyes softened. "Maybe." He used to say the real measure of repair isn't how long it lasts, but how deeply it connects people. I think he'd understand this. From within the sanctuary, the Turun child approached, its glow brighter than ever. The music sphere rested in its hands, radiating soft, synchronized pulses. "Malik," it said, its voice smooth and sure. "We sing again?" He smiled. "Always." The child touched the sphere and a gentle tone filled the air, a harmony that rippled through the structure. As the sound spread outward, others joined, human voices, alien frequencies, mechanical rhythms. The sanctuary came alive once more, its soundscape rising into the morning sky. Amma closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her. "Hey, it sounds like peace. It sounds like work well done," Malik said quietly. From the crowd below, Commander Ebo appeared, his uniform stripped of insignia. He approached them with a hesitant expression. "Doob," he began, "I thought I'd seen the end of you 100 times." Malik smiled faintly. "I'm not that easy to erase." Ebo looked around, his voice lower. "You changed everything. The Coalition's rewriting its charter. Alien aid protocols, communication treaties, they're using your example as precedent." "I didn't set out to make laws," Malik said, "just to keep a family alive." Ebo nodded slowly. "Sometimes that's all it takes." The music swelled again, filling the open air. The people below raised their hands, joining the rhythm. For a moment, the city itself seemed to breathe as one being. Amma turned to Malik. "What will you call this?" He thought for a moment, then said, "Not a movement, not a revolution, just repair." As the sun climbed higher, The ships above shimmered in response, casting rings of light that mirrored the sanctuary's pulse. The sky glowed with hues of copper and violet, a dawn unlike any before. Malik watched in silence, the warmth of the rising sun on his face. "Maybe," he said softly, "this is how healing looks." Amma smiled. "Then let it never stop." He turned toward her, then to the horizon, the endless expanse of possibility ahead. And as the sanctuary's song echoed across the world, Malik whispered one final truth into the wind. "We repair what others abandon, and in doing so we remember what makes us human."